And we are joined by Professor Arpan Kumar Kar, who's from the IIT Delhi. He belongs to two schools, the Schools of Management as well as the School of Artificial Intelligence. Thank you very much, sir, for being with us. Is frontier AI increasingly taking on human intelligence, in a combat or a confronting role? If so, can it be contained?
Okay, so there are, couple of perspectives when we talk of the role of AI. When we talk of the role of AI in terms of a pure engineering perspective, it's almost an utopian perspective where we see that, okay, AI can solve many of the world's problems, it can automate a lot of things, a lot of drudgery can be removed, a lot of efficiency and effectiveness of systems can be improved. And there is also a dystopian perspective.
Yes.
The dystopian perspective says that AI can disrupt the way that we typically talk of in any human ecosystem. So if you look at the dystopian perspective, the effects can be at an individual level, the effects can be at an organizational level, and the effects can also be at a society or a macroeconomic level. At an
Okay.
individual level, uh, when we talk of new emerging technologies or new emerging AI models like generative AI, of course, at one side, it can enhance and augment human productivity or individual productivity.
Yes.
But it can also, kind of affect the way that users interact with the technologies, how users start, different elements of interaction, and how their interaction and user experiences are shaped.
Sure.
Then there are other aspects of
So
this
that
also.
comes into the aspect of, whether it causes risk to privacy and bias and all that. But, I'm concerned about regulation. Is it possible under the guise of regulation as well, only for a few countries to take control of AI and exploit it as a power, that they have and sort of, create an exclusive club, something like what's happened with nuclear technology?
So if you look at the perspective of AI is, of course, the algorithms are always there for everybody to access. But fundamentally, what powers these algorithms is data. So organizations which have data, they're always going to have, a better, better way of dealing with it and using it. So countries which have data, which are going to be leaders in this space, they will always be ahead in terms of the digital divide if you are talking about it. But yes, AI can also bridge a lot of gap between the haves and the have-nots. So I don't think some countries will be able to make more than regular benefits of it, but then there will be perspectives that it will also bridge the gap between the countries which are able to leverage it and the countries which are not able to leverage it.
Sure. So there are going to be gaps. Professor Kar, India sees AI as an opportunity. In fact, the Minister of State, Rajiv Chandrasekhar, said, and I quote, he said that we look at AI and indeed technology in general through the prism of openness, safety, and trust and accountability. So, I mean, is there a concept of something called ethical AI?
So in fact, that's where a lot of our recent research has focused on. So when you're talking of ethical AI, it's not only the ethics point of view, there is something that we call as the fate of AI. So there are elements like explainability, fairness, accountability, trust, transparency. All these things lead to an ethical AI system getting created. So how do we include, how do we kind of create explainable AI systems? How do we create systems which will have high in terms of fairness? How do we create systems which have high in terms of accountability? I think those are the elements that we need to take care of whenever we are trying to talk of designing AI systems. And over the years, as we try to proactively design AI systems, some of these can come in mainly from the perspective of how designers or how kind of the engineers are designing the systems. But a lot of this is related to governance of this AI system. If you're creating adequate governance policies, the risk of unethical AI or the risk of AI which does not address fate parameters, they can be mitigated to a large extent.
Okay, now the Bletchley Declaration, it says that these concerns are best addressed through international cooperation. Now that's very broad when we look at that. How, how can regulation be done? India says it should not be an exclusive, of one or two countries. What's the best way to take it forward?
So I think international cooperation is the only way to undertake research in this area. And what we have seen even in academia, the organizations or the individuals who are undertaking research in this area, they have a huge amount of collaboration across countries. Personally, for me, I have a lot of collaborations in UK, Netherlands, US, and I've seen that the collaborations brings in ideas, brings in fruitful mechanisms to control to control the way that the research progresses and how the knowledge can benefit after it is getting published. So the diffusion happens in the society at multiple levels, but
Right.
I see that collaboration will actually benefit the ecosystem.
Okay, so the people who don't understand enough about AI think that, it's taking over the world. There are supposedly, algorithms that can be built that a person just owns the algorithm and then, can make millions on the stock market. Somebody can just, get advice on how to run countries, probably do things that can gain a lot of power. In this context, is this technically, is this possible? Would it be falling into, a category of regulation?
No, so a lot of, I'll say that a lot of task, which is very structured, which is, kind of repetitive in nature, they can be automated. And now there is this dilemma that AI can solve everything. So AI does not really take away the role of an actual expert. So it is what we have seen is expertise can be in a particular domain, and then there is a T-shaped knowledge that you also are familiar about other domains. Now, where there is a relatively lesser familiarity for an individual who's working in a particular domain, there I think AI speeds up the diffusion of that knowledge. But it might be at an entry point. There might be a lot of challenges surrounding what kind of knowledge is actually getting created by AI, even if you talk of generative AI.
Yes.
Because the large language models, whenever they are creating advice, there are also concerns surrounding what is the amount of misinformation or disinformation which gets mixed with the information that is getting generated.
Okay.
And for an individual, there might not be a different mechanism with which they can actually assess the differences and subsequently the implication of those, the information which is getting spread over the platforms.
All right.
So I think there is always this pinch of salt that AI can create. Of course, it can expedite the learning process, but then to what extent it can be blindly trusted, I think we are still a lot far away from that, even with the large language models, ChatGPT, and everything.
We'll leave it there. Thank you very much for that informative discussion, Professor Arpan Kumar Kar from IIT Delhi. Thank you for being with us. Pakistan's northwestern border